الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ونور قلوبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. نوعنا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحسنة التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم، ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير، ابتغاء وجه الله مرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى، مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني مشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني مشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amin. Okay, last week we finished the one about money, and we also finished about the mu'asharat, which is the plants, right? Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. Okay. All right, so we finished about plants and we finished about the mu'asharat. The mu'asharat is the plant side about money. All right, so now we're going into trade, right? Trade goods. All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in Kitab Safinah Al-Najah. So he says here, Bismillah, فصل الأموال التي تلزم فيها الزكاة 6 أنواع. الأول النعم، الثاني النقدان، الثالث المعشرات، الرابع أموال التجارة واجبها ربع عشر قيمة عروض التجارة، الخامس والركاز، والسادس والمعدن أو معدن. نعم. Alright, so section the wealth upon which zakat is compulsory are 6 types: livestock, money, crops, wealth acquired from businesses in which 2.5% of the value of the commodity should be discharged, treasure troves, and mines. Okay, so we are now here on about the businesses. So we have finished with money. We have finished with now we are finished with crops, right? We've done crops also. So crops again is only for dates and for grapes, right? Grapes and dates, foods that can last a year, right? So when they're dried up, they can last a year. Okay, so now so al muasharat, we have finished it, right? Correct, we have finished muasharat. Okay. All right. And now we're on tijara. Right, so amwalu tijara. What is tijara? Definition of tijara. Tijara, right, or trade. It is to exchange goods with the intention of profit. Okay. Definition of trade: to exchange goods with the intention of profit. That is the meaning of trade. And to exchange goods with the intention of profit. Right. So tijara. Okay, so not all forms of work. Okay. So last week there was a good question last week about service. Right. So is service trade? No. Service is not trade. Right. Trade is trade. Trade is the exchange of goods with the intention of profit. Okay. Right. So as long as you're not exchanging any goods to profit from this, there is no trade. That is being spoken about. Right. So service is service. So with service comes earning of money. And so when you earn money through service, then comes savings. So if there's any zakat to be paid, it'll be paid on the savings of a person. So you do service, you gain and gain and gain money. If you keep it for more than 1 year, right, then you have to pay the zakat on it. So you fall under naqadan, right? You fall under money. Okay. All right. So the meaning here is that the fourth type of wealth that can have zakat on it, right, is the wealth of trade, right, and that it is compulsory by 7 conditions, right? So 7 conditions by which zakat on trade is compulsory. I'm going through this thoroughly because this is one of the zakats that we are involved with, as opposed to cattle and sheep and camels and goats, and as opposed to farm crops, right? These are all wealth that most of us here in Singapore, we are not engaged in this wealth, right? So our wealth that is zakatable, that has zakat on it will be our money, that is savings, right? The gold and the silver that we possess, and also trade. This is where we have to put in more attention and more time and more effort to understand the zakat of these things. All right. And again, always understand, always remember that zakat, it is to force wealth to flow. Right? It is to force wealth to flow. Right? The hogging of wealth, right, or the stagnation of wealth is what causes poverty in the world. Right? Not that some people are some people are poor. No, it's because some people hog wealth. Right? They don't let the wealth flow. Right? That is what causes poverty in the world. Right? So which is why we don't speak about service. Because service, whether you do service or not, you're not hogging wealth. There's no wealth to be hogged, right? But if you have a shop, and the merchandise in your shop is not being sold, then you're kind of hogging wealth. Is it staying there in your shop? It's not moving. That wealth is not moving. So therefore, there is zakat on it. Okay. All right. So zakat on trade goods is wajib on anyone who, first condition, has possessed trade goods for a year. Okay, has possessed trade goods for a year. All right, there are actually two conditions here. Right, first thing is that kaunuhu urudan. Right, the condition here is kaunuhu. Okay, I'm just going to read through the English and then I'm going to go to Arabic, because English put four. Right, but the Arabic has six. Right, so I'll just go through both of them in a while. Right, so he has possesses trade goods for a year. Right, so there are two things here. Possess trade goods is one condition. Right, so what you are holding, it has to be tradable. Right, it's a trade good. Right, so not everything will be trade goods. All right, so this one has to be specifically, it has to be tradable. Right, it's trade goods. Secondly, niyatu tijara. You must have the intention of trading it. That's number 4 here. That at the time of acquisition, the owner intended to use the goods for trade. Right, so if the owner acquired these goods without the intention for trade, right, and then later thought to herself, you know what, I should just sell all this stuff, right, and just do some trade. So then the moment she has the intention to perform trade with these materials, and now the year has begun, like for her, the year has begun. Okay. Then kaunuhu niyya maqrunatan bi tamluki aw fi majlisil aqd. Right. So the time of acquisition, right? The owner intend to use the goods for trade, right? This has two actually. To intend the use of the goods for trade is one point. To do it at the time of acquisition is another point. All right, to do it at the time of acquisition is another point. To intend to use the goods for trade is another point. All right, but it's just for the English, like, okay. It's just put it as 1 point. It sounds like it's the same. Okay. And then kaunul tamalluki bi muawadatin ka bay'in wa ijaratin wa maharin nawa biha tijara la irsin wa habatin. Right, so basically the trade goods, what has been acquired through transaction or received as a gift, even returned for something else, as an article written for someone in order to rent them out to others as a profit, or land written for someone in order to rent out to others as a profit. Right, so these are all under zakatable goods. Right, so trade goods, they have been acquired through a transaction. Right, so there was a buying and a selling involved, right, of these trade goods, or the goods were received as a gift, right, in return for something else. So, for example, somebody give you a lot of clothing as a gift, like hundreds of clothing as a gift. Of course, you don't want to keep it. You don't want to keep all these hundreds of clothing. You will probably sell it. Right? So when you sell it, it becomes tijara. Right? It becomes trade. Right? Or an article rented from someone in order to rent them out to others at a profit. So again, there is a movement of wealth by which money is acquired. As a movement of wealth of things by which money is acquired, or land rented from someone in order to rent it out to others as a profit. And subletting, like in our culture, it's called subletting. You rent from someone and you rent somebody else. Right? It's called subletting. It is illegal in our country, in Singapore. Okay, and then number two here, the value of the zakats year end equals or exceeds zakat minimum for gold and silver, right? The value of the goods, not the zakat year end, the goods year end, the value of the goods. Change the word zakat here. Change the word zakat. The value at the sorry, the value of the goods. The value of the goods at the zakat year end. Yes, the value of the goods in the shop, the goods in the shop, and not the shop itself. The goods in the shop. All right, that you want to buy and sell. So some people think that the entire shop's worth. How could it be the entire shop's worth? Like if you see in your shop, you have like couches and carpets and like bookshelves. You're selling books, or you have like air conditioning in your shop. All of these things are not sellable. You're not trying to sell your AC in your shop. You're not trying to sell your counter or your cashier, right? You're not trying to sell all these things. What you are selling are the things in the shop, right? So we're talking about the value of the things in the shop. Right? What do you own in the shop? That is the value of things in the shop. Okay. ألا ألا ينض مال التجارة بنقده الذي يقوم به أثناء الحول ناقصا عن النصاب فإن نض كذلك انقطع الحول وألا يقصد قنية أي الادخار في أثناء الحول فإن قصد انقطع ولا ينقطع مجرد الاستعمال من غير قصد لها ومضي الحول من وقت الملك أما النساب فلا يشترط إلا في آخر الحول. Okay, so right, this just to explain this part, right? So the conditions of trade goods, okay, the condition of trade goods is that you must have possessed a trade good for a year, right? So when is a year counted? The year is counted from the points of possession with intention, from the points of possession with intention to trade. Okay, that's when the year is counted. Write it down. Now the year is counted. The year begins from the points of possession with intention to trade. All right. If you have possessed it with no intention to trade, then later on you have the intention to trade, then it begins at the point of your intention. All right. So, for example, if you inherited wealth, right? So you inherited, wealth from your father, and a lot of, like, for example, maybe your father had collectibles, maybe he had a collector's item, maybe he collected like very, very rare notes, bank notes. Even bank notes don't have value. That's not a good idea. Okay, maybe he collected very rare um uh stones, I guess. And he got very, very rare stones that are not gold and silver, but just stones. So you inherited his wealth. This is collector's items that you inherited from your father. You don't think much about it. Then after many years, you look at the wealth again, the entire box of collector's items, and you say to yourself, you know what? I should just sell this and just earn some money from this. So the moment you decide to sell that box of collector's item, then now that is your tijara, right? And your year has begun. So if within the year you don't actually sell off, the goods, right, and the value of the goods is still above the nisab, right, then you have to pay zakat on the goods, right? So for example, you have a box of like rubies that your father collected, and rubies are not stones to pay zakat on. Right, rubies are not stones to pay zakat on. So after like a few years of holding the box of rubies, you're like, Kayla, I want to just sell this off. So you say, okay, I'm going to sell this off. So you begin your trade, you do your publicity and whatsoever. You have full intention to trade rubies, right? To go and sell off rubies. Okay, so through the year, 12 months passed by. Some rubies were sold, not many. Some rubies were sold. So now, you come to the financial year end. Right? The financial year end has come, and then you look at your rubies. You count their worth. What is the worth of these rubies? So now, even though they're not gold and silver, they are wealth of tijara. Right? So same thing with food, same thing with clothing. So even though dates and grapes are the only wealth that come under mu'asharat, under the plants that have zakat on them, other fruits and vegetables, they count under tijara. And they count under tijara. So if you keep all these fruits and vegetables in your shop for a long time, for example, you keep you keep rice in your shop for a long time, year after year after year, you keep the grains of rice, the beras in your shop, right? Then it is the value of the rice, and not the amount of rice, but the value of the rice. You go back to tijara. And what is the ruling of tijara? So you count, your all of your stock in the shop. You count all the worth. Okay, is that above nisab? If that is above nisab at the end of the financial year, so it's not throughout the financial year, but only at the end of the financial year. And you check, on your shop, okay, is this above nisab or below nisab? So you find out that it is above nisab. That means you must pay zakat, right? If you find out that it is below nisab, right, then don't have to pay zakat. Okay, let me just do a bit of a drawing, just to explain this point. Okay, to explain this point, right? My pen is the other side. Okay, tak apalah. Okay, to explain this point. So now I'm going to draw a timeline, right? Okay, a timeline, right? And then we have our months, right? So we have January, right? Not January. Follow Islamic calendar. Okay, so we have Rabiul Awal, right? Rabiul Awal. You have Rabiul Sani, right? You have Jumadul Awal. You have Jumadul Sani, right? You have Rajab. Rabiul Awal. I'm surprised I said Rabiul Awal. Sila. Start with Muharram. It's okay. Skill Rabiul Awal. Rabiul Awal, Rabiul Sani, Jumadul Awal, Jumadul Sani, Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, Shawwal, Zulqa'ida, TQ, right? Zulhijjah, Muharram, Safar, right? And then Rabiul Awal again. Okay. So, for example, let me give a case study, okay? Someone receives wealth or they bought wealth, okay? So, someone bought wealth with the intention of trading. Okay, someone goes to Indonesia, buys a whole load of abaya, right, for Hari Raya, right, to sell. Okay, so they bought a whole lot of abaya. The abaya that they bought in the Rabiul Awal, it costs, this is the cost of the abaya, Okay, the cost of the abaya was 10,000. Okay, 10K. And it's the value, okay? It's the value of the wealth, not how much you sell it for. The value. How much money do you spend in buying this? Okay? So the value of the wealth. Right? So you bought the wealth 10K. You bought we paid 10K, you bought the wealth, you paid Singapore. You began selling it. You sell, right? So Rabiul Awal, you sold a lot, right? Jumadul Sani, Jumadul Awal, you sold some more, right? Jumadul Sani, you sold some more, right? Rajab, you sold some more, right? Sha'ban, you sold some more. Ramadan, you sold none. Everybody busy fasting, nobody bought anything from you, right? And then now comes Shawwal. Okay, Shawwal stagnant. Nobody buying anything already. People already bought the Hari Raya clothes already. Nobody buying your jubas. You have some jubas left, right? All not bought. Right, Zulqa'ida, nothing happened. Zulhijjah, second Hari Raya. Okay, so maybe Zulqa'ida. Okay, let's see what happened. So maybe okay, I'm going to do a simple study first. A simple case first. Okay, so maybe Zulqa'ida, it came down to this amount. Okay, and then it remained constant. The rest maybe have like a few helai left, like a few pieces of jubah left until the next Rabiul Awal. Okay, so now 1 year has passed. All right, I look at the amount at the end of the year. Okay, look at the amount at the end of the year. I see what is the amount at the end of the year. I see, oh, my jubas, the value of my jubas that I bought, they are 2K altogether. Okay, I have 2K left worth of jubas. Do I have to pay zakat? No. Right? My jubas do not exceed the nisab. Okay? Alright, let me just change the scenario. This is scenario number one, Scenario number one, simple. Right? At the end of a financial year, I find I don't have to care about any anything that happened in the financial year. So even if, let's say, for example, I went to Indonesia again in Shawwal, and I bought a lot more jubas because there was like a demand on a particular type. And I went to buy a lot more jubas, which was maybe about 8,000 above the nisab. Okay, right, and then Zulqa'dah, right, it was sold. A lot of it was sold, and then Zulhijjah, it was sold again, right? And then by the time it comes Rabiul Awal, it went down to 2K again, right? So even if through the year you keep buying, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You only see at the point of the end of the financial year how much is my stock. That's all. So unlike savings, savings you got to check the whole year that your saving is above the nisab the entire year. The moment the savings go below nisab, then it's that nafa. That means you stop the year. You stop the year. Then it goes above nisab, you start the year again. But for transactions necessarily, you can't go the entire year and keep 8K in your shop. What kind of trader are you? Right, what kind of shopkeeper are you if you're gonna keep 8K worth of goods in your shop the entire year? Didn't go down at all. I mean that would be quite a lousy businessman, right? So you want to sell, right? So but through the year you're allowed to buy, you have to buy more and more and more if you want. So let's say, for example, okay, this case number one, let me do case number two. All right, case number two. Okay, so scenario number two. Okay, so after Ramadan, Shawwal, right? Okay, I'm very confident. Okay, wow. Okay, my jubah all laku. All people buy. Right, so I go and buy a lot more 8K. Okay, I was so confident that for Zulhijjah, people are going to buy my jubas. Right, I was so confident that at Zulhijjah, people are going to buy my jubas. Right, so what has happened here? My Allah. Right. So Zulqa'dah, I I suppose wrongly. Hardly any sale. Okay, so hardly any sale. My jubah stayed around 7.5 lah. With some of it I sold. 7.5K. And then until Rabiul Awal, nobody bought anything from me. Nobody had any reason to buy my jubas. So the whole thing remained where they were, right? So even though despite that it really went low, right? Right now at Rabiul Awal, I look at my goods and I see I have 7.5K, right, worth of goods. I have 7.5K worth of goods. So now I say to myself, right, must be zakat or not? Must be zakat. Right? Check the nisab. Nisab says zakat is 6K. Nisab is 6K. So that means 7.5K is above nisab. So therefore must be zakat 2.5% on the 7.5K. Okay, on the 7.5K. 2.5% on the 7.5K, I must be zakat. If I am a smart business person, right, and it's not called cheating zakat, it's not called, because zakat teaches you how to be money smart. Okay, if I'm a smart business person, I bought this 8K of clothing, very confident that in Zulhijjah people are going to buy because Hari Raya, right? And then nobody bought. So I know my year end is going to come, right? What I can do is that for Zulhijjah, lelong lah. I mean, I give it at a lower price. I give, high discount, half the price. I discount and discount and discount, right? So that by the time Rabiul Awal comes, right, it could be that because of my sale that I do, right, to clear stock, and this is what Islam teaches us, to go and clear stock. You need to clear stock. And this is a trait of good businessmen. Right? So by the time Rabiul Awal comes, my amount is here, which is 5K. And my jubas are worth 5K. Below nisab, any zakat? No zakat. Okay? Any zakat? No zakat. Okay. So here, I hope this is clear. This is case scenario 2. I'm going through scenario 3. Okay, scenario 3 is, right, so it says here, وَأَلَّا يَنِضَّ يعني الناض من المتاع ما تحول ورقا أو عينا أي صار دراهم ودنانير So basically, third scenario. Now, third scenario. Third scenario. What's happening here? Okay, third scenario is like this. The scenario. I begin the year. Okay, I acquired the goods, or I memang already had the goods and I intended to do trade in that particular year. And in Rabiul Awal. So I intend to trade. So what happened was that through the year, so what happened was that through the year, before Shawwal, right, during Ramadan, my goods, literally my goods became zero. Can't go negative, his goods, my goods became zero. All right. Meaning that all of my goods turned to money. Okay, all of my goods turned to money. Now I have cash. Right, so maybe after selling all my goods, I have 20K in hand. Okay, I bought the clothing for 10K and I sold all at twice the price, and now I have 20K in hand. All my goods have turned into money. That is called a nalb in Arabic. A nalb. All my goods have turned into money. Okay, so now what do? I have a choice. I can choose to invest, buy some more goods, and continue selling. Or I can just kill dah. I want to stop there. I don't want to sell any more stuff. I'm quite happy. Okay? If I stop there, that means I have stopped my trade. So there's no more talk about tijara. There's no more talk about zakat by tijara. Dah, finish. Stop. Okay? There is no more trade. I am not a trader anymore. Right? I stopped trading. Okay. So that's what I want to do lah. Then now 20K, right? Now 20K in my hand, when my savings went above nisab, now I move into the zakat of money. You see that? Right. So as I'm selling my clothing, I'm earning money. Right. So my savings go up and up and up. The moment my savings go above the minimum for money, then I have to keep track of my savings to see if it stays the year above a nisab. So you see, you can be paying several zakats at the same time. You're paying zakat of money, you're paying zakat of trade. If you have animals, you're paying zakat of animals. If you have dates and grapes, you're going to pay zakat of dates and grapes. Right? So you can be paying several different zakats. You're quite wealthy lah to have a few zakats to pay. I mean, we count that as a rich person. Okay, so at 20K, so maybe around January or what, right? I had on January Jumal Awal Jumal Sani. Maybe here my savings were around 6. It exceeded 6K. So from here, if my money is more than 6K, I already count my nisab, right, for the year for money. So don't confuse if trade zakat is money zakat. The one separately, I keep an eye on it to see if I fulfill the conditions of money zakat. Okay, now at 20K, I decide I don't want to just hold the 20K, right? I want to do trade again. Okay, I don't want to use the 20K, so I don't want to buy stuff for my house, I don't buy a new house, whatever. I want to do trade again, right? So I go to Indonesia again in Shawwal, right? And the 20K I bought, right? I bought 20K worth of goods. 20K, right? 20K. I spent all my money on more clothing. 20K worth of good. All right. So through the year, so now what has happened is that my year now begins at Shawwal. My year is no longer at Rabiul Awal. So I don't have to sell it off by Rabiul Awal. No, don't have to. Right? You don't have to. Okay? I have to sell it off by the next Shawwal. By the next Shawwal. See that? Right, so I have 20K worth of goods. Right? Okay? I have a full year to sell off these goods. Right? So I restart my year. So when all the goods turn into money and then use the money to buy more goods, you actually restarted your year. You actually restarted the year. All the goods turn into money, right? So in qata'a. Right? So in qata'a, إن قطع ولا يقطع مجرد الاستعمال من غير قصد لها. Right? So اللهم صل على محمد. Right? So في أثناء الحول ناقصا عن النصاب فإن ند كذلك انقطع الحول. Right, the year has ended lah. Has ended in that case. Okay, so then I begin my year again. Right. So if let's say I did not change all of my goods into money, and I kept buying and buying and buying more goods, then my tijara continues. The year actually continues. Right. So it means um I didn't change all of my goods into money. Okay. 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 Are there any questions about this? All right. Okay, one more thing, eh? Right. Um right, if let's say through the year, all right, and fourth scenario, eh? Fourth scenario. Fourth scenario. Then I'll answer questions in a while. Then you'll be finished with zakat of wealth, eh? I'll just read through the part on zakat of like of treasure. I went through, right? The zakat of treasure, everything. So all, but I didn't do this thing specifically like this. Okay. So if let's say I bought this clothing, all right, and then I sold some. So I bought it with intention to sell it, right? I sold some 8K. Okay. Nabiusan, I said to myself, no, I don't want to sell anymore. I want to keep all the clothing. Right. So I intend this to be property. It's no longer trade, it's property. I want this, so it goes back to your intention. I want this to be property. I don't want it to be trade. Property. Right. So then at Rabul Awal, all those clothing, you're gonna intend it to be property because I want to keep it as property because in case anybody comes to my house, you can just borrow the clothing and wear that. Right. So I'm gonna keep this, like, or for example, you buy a lot of telekongs to sell. Then you're like, you know what? I actually own a madrasa, and I want that, the people in the madrasa, they can wear this telekong whenever they want to wear. So I keep it as my property in my madrasa or in my masjid. So I keep it there. I'm not going to sell it anymore. I want to keep it. Right. So the moment you intend that, the year comes to an end. No more year. Okay. There's no more financial year. Right. So because you've intended it to be property, there's no more financial year. If later on, you close down the madrasa, right, and you have all the silicongs there with you and you want to sell, the year begins again. Okay, so it goes back to your intention. Of course, you can't play around with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows if you're sincere or not. Right? So you say, oh, I intend not to sell. But then you were selling. I know, as long as you're selling, you are selling. Okay? Alright. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Um mm, okay, let me see your questions. Stop. Okay. Let's see. What if so it's now a question? Oh, this one was not the class just now. Some is Fajr prayer while he wants to uphold the prayer but unable to do the sleep. Didn't see the questions now. Okay, what about tijara or bakery? So let's say a super huge bakery, are the goods and the raw materials. So basically the value of your bakery will be your raw materials because that is what you're gonna sell eventually. Right? Your service is you making the cakes lah. Right. So if let's say you buy a lot of like raw ingredients, butter, flour, like chocolate and so on, right? These you're holding it for tijara. You're holding it for tijara. Right? So you're holding wealth. Right? So they count as the wealth you're holding. So if you can use them up before the year end, that's why there's a mercy there. The mercy is you gotta use them up before the year end. So why are you holding butter a full year? You get it? Right? So even though they say the butter is premium, the chocolate is premium, right? Yes, we understand, and it can cost a lot of money. Yes, it can cost money, and cakes are only ordered seasonal. People order a lot of cakes in Hari Raya, Chinese New Year or Christmas or whatsoever. They order all the cakes in this kind of special occasions, not through the year, only during special occasions. But you keep the raw materials to yourself, yes. But would a whole year go by and the raw materials are kept untouched above nisab? Would that happen? I said, no, it didn't happen. You're quite a lousy baker. Right. I mean, that shouldn't be happening to you. And so if you bought all this chocolate and butter and whatsoever, and it costs like about 10,000, and this is nisab, eh? Nisab is a lot. I don't know how much butter and flour you spend to a super huge bakery lah, for example lah. And anyway, if you have a super huge bakery, pay lah zakat. Like, I mean, so if it's not that you cannot hold it, you can pay zakat. So if I have a big company and I have a lot of raw materials kept through the year, so at the end of every financial year, I have like 50,000 of raw dollars of worth of raw materials. Zakat. You're a big company. Pay your zakat. Okay, you get it. And so you're not trying to avoid zakat, right? But you're just trying to understand when to pay zakat. Okay. Right. So especially for big companies. But if you're a small home-based business, I highly doubt that you have raw materials up to $7,000 sitting in your kitchen for the entire year, or like, hardly used. I mean, I highly doubt. Why would you have that, right? And some more, you just take note of when your trade comes to an end, when the year comes to an end. You take note. So you know that you begin your trade in Rabiul Awal. Alright, so just ensure that you don't buy new stock before the next Rabiul Awal, but buy new stock like Rabiul Thani or something. Like, make the year come to an end first, then you buy new stock. You get it? And so you don't end the year having just bought new stock. Don't do that. Right? Yeah, you get what I'm saying, eh? Alright, so another question here. Can the intention of trade stop even though my good has not been sold? Correct. You can. I so intend the remaining goods for myself and give away to people. Can. The say that stop. You just mentioned that. So what happens if you are unsure whether you want to trade or not? Then as long as you have no intention to trade firmly, then the year has not begun. Okay, so you must be firm and sure you want to trade. Okay, what happens if you have a lot of unsold goods value above the nisab, but then you don't have any wealth to pay zakat on the tradable goods? So basically, if you have a lot of unsold goods and the value is above the nisab, then you need to find a way to sell those goods. You need to find a way to sell those goods, right? Or you intend those goods to be property, right? They're no longer trade, right? So for example, if you say you bought a whole load of clothing and really tak laku, nobody's buying it. So even if you sell at a cheap price, like super cheap price, no one buys it. No one wants to buy your stuff. Right. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna pay zakat on all of that? You can do what? I niat donation. I niat donation. I'm gonna just give it away. And there's no zakat on you. See that? But for as long as you niat tijara, you have zakat to pay. So if you're like, this is impossible. One whole year I tried to sell all these, books. No one's buying them. What am I going to do? Then you need sedekah. You change that. Because if you're convinced you can sell it, even if you put a super low price, nobody's going to buy. Then what choice do you have? What choice do you have? You have to just kill sedekah. I can't get rid of my goods. Inshallah. Okay, so I hope you all are clear on that. Okay. Okay, now. Let me see. Let me share the news. Okay, let me just so for found buried treasure, immediate 1/5 given out at 20% given out. All right. And it's only for gold and silver. Only for gold and silver treasure. Any other forms of treasure are not counted. Right. For mining, 2.5% immediately on whatever gold and silver is mined if they are above the nisab. Okay, 2.5% immediately. And so the conditions are here. Right. So for treasure, it has to be pre-Islamic, or by non-Muslims. Okay, on that condition. Okay, it must not be it must the land is not owned. Just highlight the conditions. This is the first condition. The land amounts to zakat minimum. That means nisab must have reached the nisab. Okay, the land is not owned. Okay. Right, the land is not owned. Okay. Right. As for ma'adin, ma'adin is mining. Right, to do mining. Right. So 2.5% immediately. Immediately. There's no year on it because you just found it. Okay. There has to be a zakat minimum. Okay. Right. And it has to be pure gold and silver. So you gotta remove all other impurities. The impurities must be removed, right, from the ore, right, from what you have mined, right, extracted from a mine that is located on land permissible for mine to work or owned by him. So it has to be his own mine. So if let's say he were to just find gold, my internet. Okay, if you randomly found gold, right, then it's not his gold. He has to go and search for who it belongs to. Right? So if I found gold by a river in Australia, can it's not mine. It falls under the law of luqata. Luqata meaning lost and found. In case I had to go and do lost and found with it, I can't say, oh, mine zakat. No, there's no zakat there. Okay. The amount of oil is made by working or once at one time, several times throughout it by neglecting or neglecting the project. So basically the ore was found, right, at one time, right, or several times continuously. Because you think about it, if you keep working on a mine, right, eventually you will earn enough to cover it to be more than it is up. It's possible. So when does it count? What is that? What does immediately count as? What is the meaning of immediately? Do I have to find a huge chunk of gold, right? Or do I? What if I find small pieces of gold over a period of a week, right? Or what does it mean? And this is what it said here lah. So either at one time we found a huge chunk of gold. When I went to Australia once before when I was very young, they showed us a gold mine and they showed us a huge chunk of gold that was actually accidentally found. And the value of that gold was $40,000. A huge chunk they found, right, in Australia. So or several times uninterrupted. So that all counts as one. It counts as one. Right? So if you went there, you mine there every day, you take a bit, a bit, a bit. So the first day the gold is worth 500, next day the gold is worth 3,000, the next day the gold is worth 5,000, and then eventually it goes above the nisab, and then pay 2.5%. Okay, if that ever happens to you lah. Okay, so inshallah next week I will go. Allahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta